The diplomatic hall of Station Kepler 7 fell silent as the creature entered. It moved like liquid death, its 6 legs carrying its massive frame with disturbing grace across the polished floor. Chitinous armor gleamed under the artificial lights, each plate sharp enough to slice through reinforced steel. The Varathi ambassador froze mid-sentence, his crystalline skin paling to near transparency. The Kalesh delegation pressed themselves against the far wall, their feathers flattening in primal terror. Rock was his name, a designation earned through countless kills across 17 star systems. An apex predator from the death world of Carvos Prime, where evolution had crafted the perfect killing machine. His kind had toppled civilizations before humanity had even discovered fire. The creature's head swiveled, compound eyes analyzing every being in the room with predatory calculation. Venomous fangs dripped with toxin capable of liquefying organs in seconds. Claws extended from his forelimbs, each one a weapon that had ended more lives than most wars. Lieutenant Mara Voss sat at the center table, reviewing agricultural reports on her datapad. She didn't look up. The Varathi ambassador made a strangled sound. "Oh, Lieutenant, there's a Carvosian in the hall." Mara murmured, swiping through another document about crop yields. Rock moved closer, his massive form casting a shadow across the conference table. Each step was deliberate, measured. The sound of his claws clicking against the floor echoed like gunshots in the terrified silence. Station security would be here in minutes, but everyone in that room knew minutes were eternities when facing a Carvosian. The creature stopped 3 meters from Mara's position, his head lowered, bringing his killing mandibles level with her exposed neck. Still, she didn't look up. "Human," the Kalesh trade minister hissed from her corner. "Do something." Mara finally raised her eyes from the datapad. She glanced at Rack the way someone might notice a particularly unremarkable houseplant. Her expression carried the mild annoyance of a person interrupted during important work. "Not mine," she said flatly, and returned to her reports. The words hung in the air like a pronouncement from the universe itself. Rock's entire body language shifted. The predatory tension drained from his stance. His head tilted in what could only be described as confusion, an expression that should have been impossible for a creature designed solely for slaughter. His compound eyes refocused on Mara, scanning her with what seemed like desperate intensity. "Not yours?" The Varathi ambassador's voice cracked. "What does that mean?" Mara sighed, the sound of someone forced to explain something painfully obvious. She set down her datapad with exaggerated care. "It means he's not mine. Someone else's problem. Someone else's—" The ambassador couldn't finish the sentence. His species had evolved on a garden world where the most dangerous predator was roughly equivalent to an earth rabbit. The concept of ownership over a Carvosian was beyond his comprehension. Rock made a sound deep in his thorax, a clicking, thrumming noise that sent fresh waves of terror through the assembled delegates. To most species, it was the death rattle before the kill, but Mara recognized it for what it was: frustration. "You looking for Jenkins?" she asked, still not particularly interested. The clicking intensified. Rack's head bobbed, a gesture he'd learned specifically for communicating with humans. "Yes. 3rd level hydroponics bay." "He's checking on the tomatoes." Mara picked up her datapad again. "And tell him his shift report is late again." Rock's massive frame turned with surprising speed and grace. He moved toward the exit but paused at the doorway. His head swiveled back toward Mara one final time. The compound eyes studied her with something that might have been respect, or perhaps recognition of a superior predator. Then he was gone, disappearing into the corridor with barely a sound. The silence that followed was different from before, heavier, denser, filled with unasked questions and shattered worldviews. The Varathi ambassador slowly lowered himself into his chair, his legs apparently unable to support his weight. "Lieutenant Voss, what? I don't—" "Jenkins works with the Carvosians," Mara explained, her tone suggesting this should have been obvious. "Hired 3 of them for station security after the Zarathi tried to raid us last year. Rack there is his second in command." "Hired?" The Kalesh minister's voice climbed several octaves. "You hired Carvosians? The most lethal predators in known space?" Mara shrugged. "They needed work. We needed security." "Made sense. They're killing machines." "So's a fusion reactor if you don't know what you're doing with it," Mara replied. "Jenkins knows what he's doing." The Varathi ambassador's crystalline hands trembled as he reached for his water. But how? How do you control them? What technology? What weapon? No weapon, Mara interrupted. Jenkins just talks to them, sets expectations, follows through on promises. She paused, considering. Mostly he just treats them like professionals. Turns out apex predators appreciate good management and dental coverage. Dental coverage, the Kelesh minister repeated faintly. Their teeth are their primary weapon, Mara said reasonably. Obviously, proper dental care is important for maintaining combat effectiveness. The ambassador stared at her with an expression suggesting his entire understanding of the universe had just inverted. And they just obey? Well, no, they're contractors, not slaves. Mara returned to her datapad. They follow Jenkins because he's earned their respect. They listen to me because Jenkins told them to, and they respect his judgment. It's pretty straightforward organizational hierarchy. But you didn't even look concerned when he entered. Mara finally looked up, meeting the ambassador's eyes directly. Why would I be? He wasn't showing aggressive posture. No pheromone markers indicating threat status. He was clearly looking for someone, not hunting. She tilted her head slightly. Didn't you notice any of that? The room remained silent. Humans, the Varathi ambassador said slowly, his voice carrying a mix of awe and terror, are absolutely terrifying. Mara smiled slightly, a small, polite expression that somehow managed to be more unsettling than Rack's predatory stare. We're really not. We just pay attention. She stood, gathering her materials. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to check those hydroponics reports. Jenkins's tomatoes are somehow outproducing the Kelesh agricultural specialists, and I need to figure out how. She walked toward the exit, pausing at the doorway much as Rack had. Oh, an ambassador? Next time a Carvosian enters a room, try actually looking at their body language before panicking. Saves everyone a lot of stress. She left the diplomatic hall in stunned silence. 3 levels down in the hydroponics bay, Rack found Jenkins examining tomato plants with the intensity of a surgeon. The human looked up at the approaching predator and grinned. Hey, buddy. Mara send you. Rack's thrumming changed to a warmer frequency. Yes, she tell you about the shift report? Guilty clicking. Jenkins laughed, reaching up to pat the creature's armored shoulder, a gesture that would have cost anyone else their arm. Come on, let's get it filed. Then I want your opinion on these new nutrient mixtures. As they worked together, neither noticed they were being observed by a dozen security cameras, their footage destined for xenoanthropology departments across the galaxy. Another data point in humanity's growing file. The species that had somehow looked at the universe's apex predators and seen co-workers.